Have you ever wondered what an eternal curse actually looks like? If you want a visual answer, do not look at gold or ancient amulets. Instead, look into the forgotten shadows of the Deir el-Bahari cache discovered in 1881. There, amidst the remains of history's greatest rulers, where Ramesses the Great and Thutmose III slept in majestic royal silence, wrapped in the finest pure linen. Archaeologists stumbled upon a deeply unsettling wooden coffin. It bore no name, no gold, and not a single protective amulet to guide its occupant into the afterlife. And when its heavy lid was pried open, the blood ran cold in the veins of everyone present. Before them lay the mummy of a young man whose face held absolutely no peace. Instead, his features were frozen in a terrifying, breathtaking spasm. His head was thrown back violently. The muscles of his neck were taut and strained, and his mouth was stretched wide open in a deep, black void, as if releasing a bitter cry of agony and an eternal silent plea for help. It was a scream captured by the embalmers and trapped in the flesh at the exact moment he departed this life. For a century, Egyptologists stood powerless before this tortured face, assuming this young man was either the victim of a sadistic execution or that he had been accidentally buried alive beneath the barren desert sands. But the uncharted context is that this man wasn't a victim of a tragic accident. He was the mastermind behind one of the bloodiest and most scandalous family conspiracies in ancient history. The true story that the pharaohs tried to erase from the pages of history was recently uncovered by modern CT scans and DNA analysis. The evidence revealed that this body never underwent the sacred royal steps of mummification. Instead, it was hastily dried. Scalding fluids were poured directly down his throat while he convulsed. And he was then wrapped entirely in a raw goatskin, which in ancient Egyptian belief was a symbol of Seth, the god of chaos and darkness. Wrapping a corpse in goatskin meant the ultimate spiritual death sentence, forever denying his soul entry into paradise. They even scraped his name off the sarcophagus so he would die once in the flesh and a second time in memory. And the reason? He was Prince Pentuer, the son of the great pharaoh Ramesses III, and the mastermind of what ancient papyri call the harem conspiracy. To understand the uncharted context, we must sneak through the dim corridors of the pharaoh's palace at Medinet Habu, where a hidden, cold war was brewing. Deep within the closed quarters of the harem, Queen Tai, a secondary wife of the king, watched the aging pharaoh with a burning hatred. She knew that by law, the throne would pass to the rightful heir, Ramesses IV. Jealousy and resentment consumed her because her son Pentuer, despite his striking handsomeness and royal blood, was destined to remain a forgotten shadow in the court. Thus, the queen decided to rewrite history in blood, spinning a complex spider-like web of treason within the palace walls. This was no impulsive crime. It was a highly organized, chillingly coordinated coup. Queen Tai began by recruiting disgruntled military officials, most notably the commander of the infantry, who promised a full mutiny the moment the king was eliminated. But far more dangerous was her infiltration of the pharaoh's inner circle. She compromised the people the king trusted blindly, the palace cooks who controlled his food, the personal servants who knew his sleeping schedules, and even the royal court physicians. The plot went even further. They enlisted the palace magicians, who cast spells and crafted enchanted wax figurines meant to blind the guards and drain their willpower. On that fateful night, the plan was to trigger massive riots and chaos in the streets outside the palace as a distraction, while an assassination squad executed the mission inside. On a pitch-black night surrounded by an eerie silence, the signal was given. The assassins slipped through the corridors cleared for them by the traitorous servants and entered the bedchamber of the great pharaoh. But Ramesses III was no helpless old man. Despite his advanced age, the blood of a warrior still ran through his veins. The king awoke to the breath of his killers, and a fierce, chaotic battle erupted in the darkness of the room. The pharaoh fought for his life with all his might. In the midst of the violent struggle, one of the conspirators swung a military axe, brutally severing the king's big toe, while others swarmed him to pin him down. At that decisive moment, an assassin ambushed him from behind. A traitorous hand drove a sharp dagger deep into his neck, slitting his throat all the way to the bone and severing his windpipe and major arteries. The legendary pharaoh gasped his last breath, drowning his royal bed in blood. The pharaoh was dead, and Queen Tai and her son Pentuer believed the throne was finally within their grasp. However, the winds blew against the sails of the traitors. Loyal royal guards and faithful military commanders reacted with lightning speed. They sealed all exits of the palace and captured the conspirators before Pentuer could declare himself king. A grand judicial tribunal was formed that shook the foundations of ancient Egypt. The traitors were dragged to court. The generals, doctors, and guards were sentenced to death, or had their noses and ears cut off, condemned to live out their lives mutilated. As for Prince Pentuer, because of the sacred royal blood running through his veins, the law strictly forbade his public execution like a common criminal. Instead, he was forced to take his own life inside his dark prison cell. The traitorous prince drank the poison and hanged himself. In those final moments, as the black venom tore through his entrails and the rope tightened around his neck, his entire body convulsed and his mouth flew open in a final scream of regret and terror. That very scream was intentionally preserved by the angry embalmers. They refused to adjust his features, trapping his face in its eternal gasp of agony, and bound him in the cursed goat skin to remain this way through the ages. The prince who slaughtered his father to inherit a palace ended up as the most terrifying and pitiable mummy in human history. Looking back at this dark chapter, we see a prince who killed for a crown, only to be consumed by his own treason. His eternal scream is a haunting monument of regret, proving that the price of some thrones is a curse that outlives empires. He wanted to write his name in royal gold, but instead his frozen agony became the Uncharted Context,